Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, you couldn't ask for a more beautiful night for baseball here in downtown Cincinnati. Game 2 of a day-night split doubleheader. The Reds come away winners in Game 1 behind Mike Leake 9-1. And now they're trying to sweep this twin bill and make it 3 wins in 4 games over the Chicago Cubs. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday night from Great American Ballpark. And I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm very excited about seeing Tony Cingrani tonight. A young man we were so impressed with in 2013, was injured a lot last year, and now a shot to go back in the rotation.
Well, it is, and I think it ought to please him to go back in the rotation because nobody was angrier about going to the bullpen than Tony Cingrani when they told him back down in Goodyear, Arizona. But he went down there to be a starter. They extended about 93 pitches his last time out. He went 5 innings of 4-hit shutout baseball, and he struck out 6. But when Tony Cingrani went down to the minor leagues, he had 2 things to take care of. Number 1, he needed to get his shoulder healthy because that's what landed him on the disabled list. Number 2, he needed to figure out how he was going to pitch better and go back to the way he pitched when he first broke on the scene as a major leaguer, and that means getting his hand on top of the ball. You know, as his shoulder began to ache, lower and lower that arm angle went, and it ruined his breaking ball. I understand that is much improved now, and we'll see what he's got tonight.
Well, he certainly has Joey Votto's bat in the lineup to help his cause, because right now this guy is just knocking the cover off the ball.
Well, part of knocking the cover off the ball is seeing the ball. And Votto, you can tell by the way he takes pitches, he's seeing the ball as well as he possibly can right now. He's got a nice short swing, powerful. He may not be a guy that's going to hit the ball 450 feet very often, but he is going to put the barrel on the ball more often than not. He's a good guy to know where he is in the lineup if you're pitching against the Reds tonight.
All righty, when we come back, we'll check in with our main man, Jim Day, right outside the Reds dugout. Reds are trying to make it 3 out of 4 in this series and a doubleheader sweep. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time.
Get ready for a gorgeous night of baseball. Temperatures are going to be around 80 by the first pitch. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s by the 7th inning. No rain, not a lot of heat or humidity. Will fall into the lower 70s by the end of the game with mostly clear skies. Enjoy your evening and let's go Reds.
Did I hear no rain? Me like it. Jim Day here, and the Reds take game 1 of this day-night doubleheader, and they hope that the bats continue because they have been opening up. Todd Frazier in this series, home run in game 1, 3 RBIs in game 2. He was 3 for 5 in game 1 of this doubleheader earlier today. Jay Bruce had that game-winning 2-run home run in game 1. He's swinging a hot bat, and Joey Votto, all he's doing is hitting 500 since the All-Star break. He was on fire earlier today. Kyle Schwarber, that storybook last night. Game-tying home run in the 9th, game-winning home run in the 13th, and you look at the numbers, and our IGS bringing the energy, and all these guys have been bringing it. We said Votto 500 since the All-Star break, Frazier 500 in this series, Bruce 375, and Kyle Schwarber, the only way to get this guy out apparently is to, or keep him from driving in runs, is to walk him or get him out of the lineup. He's not in the lineup for game 2 of this doubleheader. Speaking of those lineups, Tom and Chris will have that next. And Tony Cingrani back in a starting role. Cubs and Reds closing out a 4-game set next.
A look at Chicago's starting lineup. Their manager Joe Madden was thrown out of the game during the afternoon contest. Dexter Fowler, Starlin Castro, Anthony Rizzo, Jorge Soler in right, Kristen Orphy in left field, Addison Russell in second, David Ross catching, Dallas Beeler brought up from the minor leagues to start, and Jonathan Herrera is a third baseman in place of Chris Bryant. 26-year-old South Side of Chicago native Tony Cingrani, his first start of the year.
He's got to have a little extra grind, I'd imagine, every time he takes the mound and pitches against the North Siders from Chicago, being a White Sox fan his whole life and now being a part of this Reds rotation. Again, a spot where he wants to be. He was told in spring training, no, Tony, we like you in the bullpen. We've got enough arms in the starting rotation. He did not like that. But unfortunately, his arm did not respond well to going to the bullpen, had some shoulder problems, went down, did some rehab, and here he is.
Dexter Fowler in from the right side, and a line drive into center field, a base hit. That's the way the game gets started. And into second base comes Fowler. Here comes a throw, and it's not going to be in time. Certainly something to watch today. You know, Brian Price and Jeff Pico. Price is a pitching coach 2 years ago, and Cingrani had such an excellent rookie year. You know, could he work on his secondary stuff? We've seen breaking balls right from the get-go so far by Cingrani. You may remember that Cingrani is the only pitcher in Major League history to begin his career with 22 starts without allowing more than 5 hits in any of those appearances, and only the second pitcher in history to begin his career with 24 starts without allowing more than 6 hits in any of those appearances. It was a 2012 Reds Minor League Pitcher of the Year, Baseball America Minor League All-Star, and the lowest ERA among all minor league pitchers that year. And yet in 2014, due to the injury, missed most of the season. And as Chris mentioned earlier, went to spring training hoping to win a spot. What with trades of Latos and Simon, and then was told very early on they wanted him out of the pen. Ground ball down to third. Frazier will look Fowler back and take care of Castro, 1 away. So when you're looking at Tony Cingrani tonight, Chris Welsh, what are you looking for?
I'm looking, number one, Tom, to see whether his arm looks healthy to me, whether he's got pop in his fastball. Right now he's throwing around 90 miles an hour, which isn't bad. You know, he used to, though, throw 92, 93, even up higher than that. What made him so successful his first year, when he had an earned run average of 2.9, a 7.4 record, he threw fastball after fastball up around the letters, and it was nearly unhittable. The more breaking balls you throw, you have to throw those down in the zone, because high breaking balls usually don't work very well. So it'll be interesting to see how he blends that breaking ball that is supposedly much improved into his repertoire, along with a newfangled changeup.
Anthony Rizzo, yes, a left-handed batter, but hitting left-handed pitching has not bothered him all year long. Let's see if Frazier has a play on this ball. He will not. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. Rizzo leads the major leagues with an extraordinary .476 on base percentage against left-handed pitching. That is ahead of Nelson Cruz. That's ahead of Paul Goldschmidt. And remember, they're right-handed batters. And Goldschmidt's a guy who's flirting around here at the end of July with a Triple Crown race. 0-2 pitch. There's a 92-mile-per-hour fastball.
And that's a little bit more like it for Cingrani. I think he's probably nervous out there. You come out at your first start, a lot of things going through your mind, and I think the more he gets into the rhythm, the better his delivery will be and the harder he'll throw.
Runner at second, 1 away, and a pop-up. This one is playable. Shading his eyes from the bright sunshine on this early start time is Marlon Byrd. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. It'll be Byrd, Hamilton, Bruce. Bruce did not play in game 1. Frazier and Suarez both played in game 1. So too did Joey Votto. Phillips getting a rest. Barnhart, the starter in game 1. Pena here in the nightcap. Two away for the right fielder Jorge Soler. Strike 1. So you talk about being healthy. You also talk about this newfound slider from Cingrani. Certainly one other area of concern, even when Cingrani was pitching so well 2 years ago, is pitch efficiency. And we showed you that in his most recent start in the minor leagues, he threw 93 pitches in 5 innings. Now, they were watching him as they're trying to extend him a little bit, build up his innings, build up his pitch count. But certainly he can make a statement to stay in this rotation if he can keep that pitch count down and gobble up productive innings.
Well, you know, when he was at the top of his game, he was a guy that missed a lot of bats. So anybody who strikes out a lot of hitters is going to naturally throw more pitches. He was averaging more than 10 strikeouts for every ball game he pitched, 9-inning game. And he had a lot of swings and misses and a lot of foul balls straight back because he threw fastballs up. And if you sat behind home plate when Cingrani pitched, you were going to get a souvenir foul ball because that's just the way he pitched it. So sometimes you can, you know, maybe emphasize the pitch efficiency a little bit too much because you don't want to take his strength away. And that's really coming right after him with fastballs. There was only one pitcher in all Major League Baseball that threw more fastballs as a percentage than Tony Cingrani. I mean, he was throwing 85 out of every 100 pitches a game fastballs, which is nearly unheard of. The Major League average is somewhere around 60%.
Well, he thought he had Soler struck out on back-to-back fastballs, one on the outside corner, the next one on the inside corner. He comes back with a breaking ball and runs the count full.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like much. 17.7 pitches per inning till you start multiplying it by, 200 innings.
Well, after allowing a double to begin the inning, the runner never moves thereafter. Ground out, pop up, ground out. Good start for Tony. Reds are coming to bat when we return. Spieler, a right-hander. Billy Hamilton, Joey Votto, Todd Frazier. All three of those guys had big games in the win earlier today. Bruce Pena and Bird in the middle. Suarez had a couple of runs batted in with a double in game one. De Jesus at second. Cingrani on the mound. Dallas Spieler, his second start this year. His first one went 5, allowed 4 hits, 2 runs, struck out 6, walked 2.
Spieler, 26 years old. He's a big guy, 6'5", 215 pounds. He is from Jenks, Oklahoma. And despite his size, he's not a very especially hard thrower. Drafted twice, once out of high school by the Blue Jays, didn't sign, ended up going to Oral Roberts University.
Billy will leg this out. Even without the miscommunication between Herrera and Beeler, that is a perfect bunt.
I'm glad to see Billy do this. And look how he's staying in the batter's box before he runs. He lunges a little bit at that ball, but he still lays it down in a perfect spot. And you're exactly right, Tom. I don't think that either of those players, if they had been committed to it from the beginning, would have been able to throw him out at first.
Billy Hamilton, 45 stolen bases, has been thrown out 7 times. He had 44 at the break. He's attempted 2 steals since the break. 1 successful. Showed you the numbers a moment ago. Votto since the All-Star break. a .500 batting. And an on-base percentage of nearly 59%. He has 3 3-hit games, 2 doubles, 2 home runs. And he clubbed home run number 17 earlier this afternoon in the Reds' 9-1 rout. Now they had Hamilton leaning a little bit there. What a game 1 start by Mike Leake. He allowed 4 hits, 1 run in 8 innings, retired the last 16 Chicago batters he faced.
Hey, when he's on his game, he makes it look about as easy as anybody out there.
Two and 1 on Votto. Leake over the 8 innings struck out 7. He did not walk a single batter today. Big crowd for the 12:30 game. Over 35,000. Reds scored 4 runs in the first inning of game 1. We'll see if they can jump on Beeler here in the opening inning of game 2.
Beeler's got that Roy Halladay hunchback. He's a big guy. Halladay was a big guy too, over 6 feet 5 inches tall, but they're both kind of hunchback a little bit. Very reminiscent, his delivery is, of Roy Halladay. That at 89 miles an hour, whereas Halladay was dialing it up at about 94, 95 with some major sink. But still not a bad guy to model yourself after. If you can duplicate that particular delivery, which is a difficult one to do, where you kind of tilt your front shoulders forward. Not too many pitchers do that.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Votto. And it's ball 3. Of course, Halladay was voted upon by the fans as one of the Toronto Blue Jays franchise 4 during the All-Star game. What an extraordinary career he had. And of course, Reds fans will forever remember him. A short time, albeit, in the National League. No hit the Reds in the 2010 National League Division Series.
Most dominating game, I think, Tom, I've ever seen. We've seen a lot of baseball, but it didn't matter who was coming to the plate that night. Not an easy time to see the baseball. This is kind of a little bit of a view right there of what Joey Votto and other hitters are looking at. Very bright out there in the batter's eye.
And that's by a diving third baseman Herrera. Hamilton was on the run, and the Reds have something cooking here in the first inning. A bunt single by Hamilton, a single to left by Votto. So Joey now 13 of 25 since the break.
You know, when Votto is this hot, I don't think that you can shift him and do it successfully, especially if you're going to pitch him low and away with a sinker. I mean, you've only got one guy on that side of the infield over there. So Votto reads that, and he kind of comes up with a plan to beat the defense that is right out there in front of him.
Frazier with a big game 1, 3 hits and 5 at bats, had a pair of doubles, drove in 2. But here with a runner at third, he pops it up into foul territory. Russell nearly flipped over. That has to hurt, doesn't it? I mean, I know they have a padded wall down there, but you know, when you're running full bore and strike it with both thighs.
I think it was more of he used it as a break. He didn't really hit it full stride. He slowed down a little bit and added some drama at the end. You think?
All right, 0-1 to Frazier. First and third, none out. Popped up, shallow center field. Of course, Hamilton may try from anywhere, but not from there. So Frazier unable to get the run in, 1 out in the inning, and Jay Bruce coming up.
Well, if Addison Russell, the second baseman, catches that ball, Billy Hamilton will try to score, but the momentum of that center fielder, he was nearly on the dirt when the time he was ready to throw that ball.
take a look at Chicago defensively, presented by Ford. Denorfia starts both games of the doubleheader. So too does Soler. Herrera did. Castro did. Russell did. Rizzo did. And Ross, a former Red, hanging his signs. Here's Jay Bruce.
Well, this is just about a must at bat for the Reds right now. I mean, not in the big picture, but they scored 4 runs in the first inning of the first game, and you just put the Cubs right on their heels if you can put a couple of runs on the board here.
Well, that's a double play ball. First and third, nobody out. Frazier and Bruce can't get it done. We go to the second, no score. Tony Cingrani. Brian Price said this: my understanding is he improved it greatly. Talking about his slider during his time on the DL and in AAA Louisville. I'm looking forward to seeing more of a complete pitcher and a guy who has more in his arsenal than he did when he was hurt.
Well, when he was really at the top of his game, he really did not need a whole lot more than just his fastball. And I always thought that if he could just develop one off-speed pitch to complement the fastball, the most obvious one would be a changeup, and then work on the breaking ball. But in the meantime, I mean, he was dominating major league hitters with nothing but heat, because he's a little bit deceptive. His arm is a little bit behind his body. He throws hard. His ball doesn't sink like it appears to, and he would get a lot of hitters swinging beneath that fastball.
Denorfia, Russell, and Ross, a trio Tony will face. He allowed a double leading off the game, then retired 3 straight Cubs. So both teams missing a chance. The Reds missing a golden chance with first and third and nobody out in the first inning.
Well,
there's a nifty breaking ball there.
You know, the one adjustment that they tried to make with Tony Cingrani is to make sure that he would have some depth on his breaking ball, meaning it just wouldn't go side to side, but it would sink a little bit too. And that one did both. And Tony, and I don't know whether it was a product of having a shoulder problem that you try to pitch around that problem. He wasn't a guy that went to the trainers right away and said, hey, my shoulder hurts. He, you know, like a lot of guys who kind of hide it because they don't want to lose their spot on the team or in the rotation. So little by little, I imagine that sore spot that hits you right as you're getting ready to throw that ball towards home hurts so much you drop your arm a little bit more, and pretty soon you're throwing way lower than your normal release point is, and your breaking ball flattens out. You can't find a release point on your changeup, and all of a sudden you're not getting guys out, and Now it's time to go complain and tell them that your arm really hurts.
Well, it would be very, very exciting for this organization if Cingrani can all of a sudden put himself back in a position where he becomes a legitimate weapon as part of your starting rotation, because he's still so young. He just turned 26 years young 2 weeks ago. And man, oh man, you look at all the pitchers in the Red stable. Frazier may have never seen that ball. He appeared to lose it, and of course he's staring directly into where the sun is beginning to set towards the western sky.
Well, this unusual start time is something that we talk about really during the month of June. Yeah, I've never seen him try to field a ground ball like that at all. Probably didn't see it come off the bat until it was too late, realized he was in between hops.
Of course, Great American Ballpark, and we have talked about it before. It is one of fewer than 5 in all of Major League Baseball that faces the direction in which it faces, and that is towards the southeast. Most of the ballparks will see the sun field, if you will, be in right field.
Well, that's how you get the word southpaw. If a pitcher stands on the mound and puts his arm straight out on a normal layout of a baseball field, his left arm will be pointing to the south.
In the air, Jay Bruce to his left and David Ross taken care of for the second out of the inning. Cubs have 2 hits, 1 strikeout for Cingrani, no walks. And the pitcher Beeler coming up. Well, you know, you get back to the idea of, we've seen Lorenzen this year. We've seen Iglesias this year. It's been an excellent rookie year so far for Anthony DeSclafani. If all of a sudden, to go along with the Stevensons of the world and guys that are still making their way up, if Cingrani could all of a sudden get back into that mix, that makes your future that much brighter. There's a fly ball to right at Cingrani. A very efficient second inning. It hit a man left. No score. We go to the bottom of the second inning. American Ballpark, Saturday, August the 1st, the Reds take on the Pirates. The first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Devin Mesoraco bobblehead presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. For tickets to that game or any game on the next homestand, Pirates and the Cardinals will be in town. Call 381-REDS, visit select Kroger locations, or log on to Reds.com. A good start for Tony Cingrani. 2 hits, 1 strikeout, no walks, no runs. His team bats in the second inning. Pena, Bird, and Suarez coming up. Reds had 9 runs and 13 hits in game 1 Hamilton knocked in 2. Votto had 3 hits. Scored 3 runs, hit a home run. Frazier 3 hits. Drove in a couple of runs. Eugenio Suarez had a 2-run double. Barehanded by Herrera. His throw is offline, and that'll be a bunt hit for Brian Pena. How about that?
What a smart ball player I mean, with the emphasis on ball player. I mean, just what he is. He probably saw where they were playing before he even came to the plate, formulated a little strategy, and said, you know what, if he gives it to me, I'm going to take it. I'm a singles hitter anyway. And he's given Anthony Rizzo a little play-by-play of it down there.
Well, those two guys can talk now. I mean, if Pena is among the best talkers on this Reds team, Rizzo is right at the top of the list for the Cubbies. Marlon Byrd looks at ball 1. Well, it was so cute a moment ago. Ball went to stands, and the dad caught the ball, and as soon as he caught it, his son just leaps into his arms. That was pretty good stuff. 1-0 to Marlon Byrd. And it's out of play. A couple of games earlier today, the Nationals rallied in a big one. That was a rubber game in that series. They downed the New York Mets 4-3. Dodgers take care of Atlanta 3-1. Cleveland rallied to beat Milwaukee 7-5. And Philadelphia down Tampa Bay 5-4. A couple of other games still in progress. Cardinals will play later tonight on the south side of Chicago. And the Pirates and Royals will get together. That was a wild one last night. Game ending with the Pirates having the bases loaded. 2-1. 2-2 now to Marlon Byrd. Still 2-2 on Marlon.
You know, Beeler's kind of an interesting guy, other than the fact that he was drafted in the 41st round. I mean, that's about the time the team stopped really taking picks anymore. They filled out all the minor league rosters they need. But here he is, making a start in the major leagues, really beating all the odds. Made his debut a couple of years ago. Has not pitched all that much in the major leagues. And he's not an overpowering pitcher at all. In fact, that's his main pitch right there. 89 miles an hour and a cutter. He throws that like it's his fastball. He will mix in some sinking fastballs from time to time, but when you number his pitches in terms of usage, it goes cutter first and then fastball and then curveball.
Well, he wanted that call, didn't get it. So the Reds have 2 on with nobody out. They had runners at first and third and none out in the first inning, and then Beeler got down to business, got a pop up in a double play ball to get out of the inning unscathed. So here's Eugenio Suarez. 5 home runs and 17 now batted in for Suarez. This guy just continues to swing a productive bat. Had the 2-run double in the 4-run first inning of game 1 today. And there's a missile in the center field, a base hit. Pena will stop at third base. And the beat goes on for Suarez. Say he's going to get some of the folks in the baseball operations department scratching their head if he keeps this up. As to where do we find a spot in this guy in the lineup?
It's a good swing. I mean, we've talked about how compact his swing is. He's right to the ball. 23 years old. He's got a lot of upside. I mean, you're looking for middle infielders who can swing the bat a little bit. Now, you know, the shortstop position over the last few years has belonged completely to Zach Cozart. And he was coming along big time this year offensively before he was sidelined for the year with a knee injury. It does leave the Reds in somewhat of a predicament. Because if you think about it, Cozart is not going to be ready to come back and play by the end of the year. He probably will be able to play in spring training, but in the meantime, you've got a negotiated deal with him. So where do you rank him as far as what are you willing to pay him? Maybe you'll try to trade him. Maybe you'll try to trade Suarez. Maybe you got room for both of them. It's a good problem to have, because you've got two very capable shortstops. But the bad part of that problem is you only have one position, and that's the shortstop's position.
Unless you consider a position change. And of course, that could be predicated upon who you have coming back at other positions currently occupied. Two balls and a strike.
Where are you thinking?
I think it all depends on how it all shakes out once the trading deadline comes and goes, and kind of see where you are as a club and looking forward and knowing what's coming up in your minor league system at those positions. 2-1. And there's a base hit into right field by DeJesus. One run will score, and the Reds have them loaded. They lead 1-0. Ivan DeJesus with a run-scoring single.
Well, he hit the ball hard a few times last night. It really didn't have anything to show for it. In fact, one sizzling line drive right into the glove of the second baseman. He goes that way again with the bases loaded and finds the hole. In this inning, what you've seen is a really good example of hitters taking what the pitcher's given you.
Well, now we remember Cingrani. Highly unlikely he would think about it now. But remember, when he was a regular part of the rotation, I mean, this guy's an athlete. He had a couple of bunt singles that year. He stole a base that year. Swings and fouls it off, so he definitely won't be trying it now with 2 strikes. But he hit .250, had 7 hits and 24 at bats. .02. That's the danger. Oh, bobbled, and everybody's safe. Are you kidding? 2-0 Reds.
Well, if you could give 2 errors on 1 mishap, this would be it, because it's a double play ball all the way. You can't give 2 errors on that. Even if he gets 1 at first base or at second base, you only get no error, just a fielder's choice. But that is like a golden goose laying an egg for the Reds right there.
It's an error on Castro, an RBI for Cingrani. You can't assume the double play in situations like that. So the second career run batted in for Cingrani, and now they're loaded with nobody out.
You know what they say in the dugout when you see an opposition fielder make a play like that? Hootzilla. You ever heard that?
No.
No, it's maybe somebody's favorite movie.
Hootzilla.
Hootzilla.
Nice. That ball is launched by Hamilton into right center field, and this will go all the way to the wall. 1 run score, 2 runs score, and they're going to hold the pitcher Cingrani on a 2-run double by Billy. Boy, he knocked the snot out of that ball.
Makes you want to sneeze. Well, he lays down a bunt in the first inning for a base hit, and here he plays almost long ball by burning the right fielder. Solaire's playing in fairly shallow, not respecting his power at all. He goes all the way to the wall in right center field. Cingrani was cooking coming around second base and into third, but they're going to hold him right there.
I forgot it's dinner time. That's a phrase for late in the night in the 13th inning.
Joe Madden sprinting out to the mound.
Well, the Reds had first and third and nobody out in the first inning, and they couldn't get in a run, and you thought, well, hopefully they'll have a chance to make amends for that, and have they ever here in the second. 4 runs home, runners at second and third, still none out, and you're getting into the big hitters now.
I think that's a pep talk for the infield right there. He said something directly to the shortstop, Starlin Castro. Castro, of course, the one that muffed that double play ball. And they would have been a ways out of this inning without that. And he said something to Buehler, the pitcher. And it could be as simple as, hey, can't do anything about those 4 runs on the board right now. Let's play it like the inning just started here, okay? Forget what's happened and let's move forward. A 4 spot in the first inning of the first game, and now a 4 spot and maybe more here in the second inning of the second game.
We brought up last night before Frazier's at bat that produced a tie-breaking 2-run single in the 7th inning. Now Frazier has really struggled this year with a runner at third and less than 2 outs. And I mean, he's been kicking himself about it all year long, and you wonder if it's not starting to get in his head a little bit. His first time up tonight, he had a runner at third, nobody out, popped up.
Still can't be a very comfortable situation for Dallas Buehler to intentionally walk the bases loaded to face the home run derby champion.
And you see only 13 out of 31 times for Frazier. You're talking about a guy who's one of the leading run producers in all of Major League Baseball. But fewer than the Major League average is his percentage of getting that runner in.
I wonder if it's just trying too hard.
Probably is. Infield in. Well, you can add another one to it. That's almost like a guy getting the yips. Go figure. 2-away in the inning. 9th man to bat is Jay Bruce. Bruce hit a bullet 1-hopper, but right at the second baseman with first and third and 1 out in the first inning. It turned into an inning ending double play. Good breaking ball, strike 1. Buehler had a 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reds have played 10 innings of offensive baseball so far today, and they have scored 13 runs against this Cub team. That's all they're going to get, as once again Frazier and Bruce are disposed of. That's a second out of the inning. So the Reds get 1 more to make it 5-0. And Brian Pena coming up. So give Jay his 49th run batted in. Well, Pena finds a way to collect a hit here and drive in a pair. You still have obviously a long way to go, but I mean 7-0 becomes mighty tough. 5-zip, you feel like you have a fighting chance. Two and one on Brian. He started this inning with a bunt single at the third base line. And look how far back Herrera is playing right now. Would he even consider a 2-out bunt? No. Bouncing ball to Russell. The Reds score 5 in the second inning and lead at the end of 2, 5-0. The fan expressed a Great American Ballpark to root on the Reds, and we thank all those who have ridden aboard the Fan Express to Reds Country. If you'd like more information on it, 765-7600, the number to dial. Reds 9-1 winners in Game 1 in front of better than 35,000. And a lot of after-work crowds still rolling in on this rare 6:10 start time. This is a nice start time, isn't it?
You like it, don't you?
Well, I love it.
I guess unless you're playing left field or third base,
yes,
where
you're
it's
right.
very difficult to see the ball. But hey, if it's hard to see at the plate, you certainly can't convince the Reds of that. They scored 5 times last inning.
Jonathan Herrera against Tony Cingrani, and it's ball 1. Herrera, the number 9 batter, and the third baseman. The leadoff man Fowler next, and then Starlin Castro. We've talked from time to time that the Arizona Diamondbacks are the only team that I'm aware of that starts their games much earlier than the standard, 7:05, 7:10, 7:15, that neighborhood. That's pretty much standard across the board. The Diamondbacks, since the very beginning of their franchise, start their night games at 6:40.
Well, you might be too young to remember the old Cincinnati Reds starting times of 8:05.
Oh, I remember. There's a little flare look at Hamilton. unable to get it, gave it a good effort. Bird backing him up, and it'll be a blue double by Herrera to start the third inning. Thought Billy might get there. He almost did. Third hit for the Cubs against Tony Cingrani, the second of the leadoff variety. Fowler led off the game with a double and never moved. Cingrani got a ground out to third, a pop up, and a ground out to end the inning. Good pitch on the outside corner there. And it's 0-2 on Dexter Fowler. Fowler appears to be aching a little bit, as though umpire walked over and asked him, or either told him to get in the batter's box, one or the other. Keeps raising and shaking that back right arm. The number we showed you of Dexter Fowler. Look at some of the names though on that list. Ian Desmond, a guy who has had some very good offensive years. We know about the careers of Utley and Rollins. Of course, both getting older. Hamilton on that list as well. Desmond is an interesting player to keep an eye on during the offseason. He was offered a pile of money on a long-term contract, turned it down.
Like a 7-year type deal, right?
Yeah. And now all of a sudden he has picked the worst time to have a free agent season. Gone swinging Fowler. Second strikeout by Cingrani. And that's vintage Cingrani there. Get him to chase a high fastball.
Yeah, just staying up in the zone. It looks good to you. Hitters have a hard time laying off of it. I really think that when Tony Cingrani, that's a four-seamer, as you can see, but when he starts throwing that ball down around the knees, that's when he gets his fastball lit up a little bit. He's much more effective up high. And it leads you to a dilemma as to how you throw and where you throw and what type of breaking ball that you end up developing and throwing. Because breaking balls are better down around the knees, but if you throw everything up for fastballs and then you throw something down, hitters are going to read. They're going to figure that out. I'm of the opinion if it ain't broke, just keep starting it up and running it until it does break. Unfortunately, he ended up with a little sore shoulder, but evidently not serious enough to sideline him for too long. And hopefully that'll be the end of that.
Runner at second, 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike on Castro. And that fastball misses away. Castro tapped out to the third baseman. His first time up. That was a big out for Cingrani. Came in the first inning, and it's been a long time since Tony has started a game. He's been hoping for this shot. And the Cubs in that first inning got a leadoff double. That ball is to the gap. It'll go all the way to the wall. Cubs will get on the board on a double by Starlin Castro. (5-1) our score.
Well, here's an example of what we were talking about, Tom. If you look at the location of this fastball, you know, it's a four-seamer, but it's down. And a lot of guys like to pitch down there. But Tony doesn't have a lot of sink on his fastball. I mean, it is all four-seam ride. And that's a ball that he has to, you know, get back to what his strength is, running that thing around the letters.
Anthony Rizzo flied out in short left to Marlon Byrd his first time up. We were starting to tell you about some of the numbers though for Rizzo. Not only his on base percentage the best in baseball against left-handers, but my oh my, his all of his numbers. He's hitting .338. That's his batting average, and if he holds true to that, that would be the third best single season mark left on left by a Cub player in 40 years. Bill Buckner one season hit .389. Mark Grace in 1993 hit .352 against left-handers. Those two guys could hit.
Well, you're not kidding.
Man, people forget. Not so many forget about Grace because he's been more recent, but Bill Buckner could really hit.
And it's a shame that he's remembered more for a ground ball going through his legs in the World Series than he is for his overall career, which is very impressive. That guy would put the bat on the ball.
Buckner had over 2,700 career hits, drove in over 1,200 runs, a career .290 batter. Two balls and two strikes. Played a long time, did Buckner. He broke in with the Dodgers in 1969. He did not retire until 1990. 21 years.
Remember that song?
Title?
Remember that song the organ player used to play at Wrigley Field, and he would come to the plate? Where have you gone, Billy Boy, Billy Boy? I think that's what it was, yeah.
And on a 2-2 pitch, Rizzo is hit with a fastball right in the ribs. That one hurt.
Unintentional, no doubt, but that certainly doesn't take the pain away. Thank you.
So here comes Soler. Cingrani in a little bit of trouble here. Cubs have already scored a run, and they have 2 on with only 1 out, and we're in the middle of this lineup. Now in the second game of this doubleheader, they don't have Bryant, they don't have Schwarber, but Soler certainly packs as much thunder as anybody in the league. 1 ball and 1 strike. Two balls and a strike. And now 3-1.
Tony's just flying open right now. That's why that ball is going high and away. I mean, he's got to either speed his arm up or slow his body down in order to get that rhythm and that release point.
And they're loaded with 1 away, and Denorfia coming up. Now Jeff Pico, the Reds pitching coach, will trot out from the first base side dugout. Visit with Cingrani and his battery mate Pena.
This is where you hope that as a pitching coach, you've got that one little mental anchor that you talk to your pitcher about, whatever it is. It might be, you know, keeping your chin down or keeping your shoulder in or making sure that you keep your elbow up or stay back over the rubber, whatever the verb, a little combination of words you have out there. Is the one thing you tell them, say, hey, remember what we were working on in the bullpen? That's all you've got to do right here. and everything will come together for you. Last thing you do is you remind him you got bases loaded. We've already scored you 5 runs. Don't blow it.
Swinging a foul ball out of play to the first base side. That went all the way into the corner. 1 run scores, 2 runs score. They're going to hold Soler, and we have a ball game. It's 5-3 on the 2-run double by Kristen Orfield.
You said it, Tom, when the Reds have those 2 extra runners out there on base and are unable to get them in. Would have given the Reds a 7-0 lead. Now it is 5-3. Looked like it was going to be a cakewalk. Evidently not that easy. Kristen Orfield has himself out a nice career.
Yes, he has. There's Addison Russell, and nowhere near the strike zone. Ball 1 up and away. Reds got 8 innings out of their starter, by far the best outing by any Red starter since the All-Star break. One ball and 1 strike to Addison Russell, who had an infield hit on a bouncer that Frazier lost in the sun when the sun was still shining brightly on the left side of the infield. Reds infield conceding the run, unless of course it were to be hit right at Frazier. 2 balls and a strike. Well, the Reds don't have any action yet in their bullpen, but that will not last long if Cingrani is unable to start throwing more strikes. Russell thought that may have been ball 4. Instead, it's strike 2, a full count. And now there is action starting in the Reds bullpen. That's Pedro Villarreal. We did not see him in that 13-inning contest here late into the night early this morning. There's strike 3 called. An important strikeout for Tony Cingrani. It's the second out of the inning.
That was kind of a grind-him-out strikeout for Cingrani. He would look like he was on the edge of really losing it. He came back. It took him 7 pitches to finally get Addison Russell, but right on the outside corner, he dots the I and gets a very important strikeout.
Well, now what does Joe Madden do? Travis Wood is all of a sudden throwing down in the Chicago bullpen. Remember, David Ross is batting 7th, but Joe Madden has his pitcher every night batting 8th. Be interesting to know the last time David Ross was intentionally walked. He is hitting .173. And Beeler will be called back. Joe Madden going to take advantage of a walk to the light hitting Ross, and he will send up Chris Bryant to bat for Beeler.
Well, he's got to figure that the only left-hander that Bryant would be able to see tonight would be Aroldis Chapman late in the ballgame. So why not use your big bullet as far as right-handed power off the bench? Use it right now with the bases loaded, where you can do some serious damage, and the lefty's not throwing 100 miles an hour.
That is a shocker to walk Ross.
Yeah.
Just a shocker. Especially with a young man who at times has had trouble throwing strikes.
Well, I can tell you right now that I imagine that there are a few shocked people in that Reds dugout that Joe Maddon decided to pull his pitcher back in the 3rd inning. Because they wouldn't have walked David Ross if they thought really for certain Chris Bryant would be coming up. Cubs have done damage on a 3-0 count. You got to be careful here. Tony really not finishing these pitches like he did in the 2nd inning, when he really felt like he had something behind the baseball.
Three and 2 on Bryant.
A little better that time.
We'll see if Cingrani can come back from 3-0 down. Payoff pitch coming. And this game is tied. Knowing a guy with a success in his managerial career that Joe Maddon has had, if anybody is stunned that he was going to hit for a pitcher who's given up 5 runs in a game already, even being the 3rd inning, I mean, with some of the weapons he has on that bench here in game 2, and he picked a perfect spot for Bryant. Cingrani, a very short outing. We are tied at 5. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We're back in a moment.
Hitter who comes up here in the 3rd inning, and a fastball that finds its way into the hole in left field. The 2 runs come around to score, tie the ball game up. A rough and short outing for Tony Cingrani, and a perfect time for Joe Maddon to use his biggest bullet off the bench. And Bryant, there will be better days.
Well, Pedro Villarreal will come on and pitch, and taking off for second and picking up a stolen base is Bryant. So now the Cubs have a pair of runners in scoring position with David Ross on the double advancing on to third base. See the numbers on Villarreal. This is his 14th game of the year. One and one on Jonathan Herrera, and that ball is pulled foul. Herrera led off this inning with a bloop double that was just beyond the reach of a diving Billy Hamilton in left center field, and he scored the first of what has been a game-tying 5-run third after the Reds scored 5 runs just a half inning ago. One ball and 2 strikes. And again pulled foul. You know, it's not second guessing because we brought it up before it ever happened. But certainly the question has to be raised about the intentional walk to David Ross. Not only is Ross this year hitting 173, he has 3 hits and 23 at bats against left-handed pitching the entire season. That's 130.
Well, I guess it all comes down to a game of managerial bluff.
One ball in, 2 strikes on Herrera, and again a foul ball. Continues to really be way out in front of everything, hooking it over near the Reds dugout on 3 different pitches in this at bat. This will be the 50th pitch thrown in this inning by Reds pitchers. Runners at second and third. Trying to keep it at a 5-5 game is Pedro Villarreal. And here comes the 1-2 to Herrera. Straight up in the air, and this should end the inning. Bruce underneath it, and that is that. The Reds score 5 in the second. The Cubs score 5 in the third. We have a lot of baseball left here at Great American Ballpark.
produced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, it's right now time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan, and you might end up seeing yourself during an upcoming telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Chris Bryant will stay in the game after coming off the bench and tying this game with a pinch hit 2-run double. And taking over on the mound, we've already seen him in this series, left-hander Travis Wood.
This is almost like a start for Travis Wood. You come into the ball game so early. Here it is only in the third inning, and it's tied up. So you look at it like a 0-0 game if you're sure the Cubs left-hander.
All right, Marlon Byrd at count 0-2. And it'll stay right there. Marlon walked and scored in the 5-run second inning. Dallas Beeler last 2 innings. He allows 6 hits, 5 runs. But of course he was really hurt on what looked like a double play ball off the bat of Tony Cingrani right at the shortstop Starlin Castro, who booted it. So 4 of the 5 runs earned runs. Three and 2 now on Marlon Byrd. Payoff pitch coming to Marlon, leading off the inning, and it's hooked into left field, a base hit. Over to cut it off is Denorfia. Byrd always goes hard. Here comes a throw, and he is thrown out by Denorfia.
Now Marlon maybe thinks that he missed the tag as he got in there. Looked like the ball beat him there, but he's going to hang around out there and maybe try to persuade Brian Price to take a look at it.
Boy, I tell you what, let's take another look.
Well, the way you coach the players, Tom, is that if you really feel like the umpire has missed a call, you make a big deal out of it so that when you're standing on the base, it'll give an indication of whether they'll try to get a quick review. They go down to Rob Coughlin and the Reds video and decide it's not worth another look.
Very, very close. All right, so now Eugenio Suarez, he hit a line drive into center field for a single and scored in the 5-run second inning. Well, he jumps all over that pitch, but hooks it foul. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Suarez. 308 batter, 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in. So both starters knocked out of the game before reaching 3 innings here tonight. Cingrani 2 2/3, 5 runs, all earned. Close the book on him.
I can't say that you would expect that, but both of these pitchers, you know, for a doubleheader, Major League Baseball now allows each team to bring up 1 extra player. So there's 26 on their roster, and the 26th man for each team faced each other on the mound tonight. Although I'm sure that the Reds had much higher expectations from Tony Cingrani tonight.
And the Reds have a decision to make as to what they're going to do with Cingrani. Because he is the 26th man, you have to be back down to 25 players when you open up a series day after tomorrow in Denver, Colorado. Do they elect to keep Cingrani around?
Well, right now there are no left-handers in the bullpen other than Aroldis Chapman, and he's a closer. So, you know, if he's got something in his favor, that would be the main thing.
Gone swinging Suarez, and 2 are out here in the Reds' 3rd.
Travis Wood now just 28 years old. He was 23 years old when he made his major league debut for the Reds in 2010. Started 17 games that year, went 5-4. It was only with the Reds 2 years. He was an all-star a couple of years ago for the Cubs. Got off to a tremendous start, ended up failing a little bit towards the end of the year, but pitched 200 innings.
DeJesus knocked in a run with a single into right field in the 5-run 2nd inning. And he goes that way again. And Soler has a drop in front of him, so DeJesus is 2 for 2 tonight.
Got the magic wand working.
Well, Villarreal with 2 outs and a runner at first is going to bat. The Reds have tomorrow off. It will be a travel day for the team. Flight out to Denver. Open a series at Mile High altitude at Coors Field on Friday night. And from there they will fly to St. Louis to open a 3-game series Monday. 1-1 on Villarreal. And now a ball and 2 strikes. This is the first plate appearance this season for Pedro. And Wood to the plate. And a pitch taken high, gets away from Ross. And DeJesus stays at first base. You know, Chris, you brought up a good point about DeJesus. We got to remember the other night he had to leave the game and felt some tightness in that hamstring. So you wonder how well. I was not paying attention to how well he was running when he had the base hit and then later scored in the 2nd inning. But that's not the kind of thing that generally just goes away after a day or 2.
And only he knows what it would take maybe to strain it more. Want to stay within yourself. And the other part of it is, so you move to second base, you still have the pitcher at the plate. Three-two delivery.
And there's strike 3 called to end the inning. Reds get 2 hits. Leave a man. We've only played 3, and it's a 5-5 game.
When they signed the current collective bargaining agreement, they can't. What came into play is what is called a competitive balance lottery. And this afternoon, the competitive balance lottery was held, and the Cincinnati Reds won the lottery. It's the 10 clubs with the lowest revenues, and the 10 clubs in the smallest markets are entered into a lottery for the 6 selections immediately following the first round of the draft. And it was held today at the MLB offices in New York, and the Reds came out on top on that one. So next year they're saying that 2016 is a very loaded draft, and if you look at the history of the draft, in that slot where the Reds will have that pick, you can get a pretty good player.
It's a good news, Jim Day. I can tell you that it was about a 1 in 10 chance that the Reds would be able to nail down that #1 spot. And they will hopefully be able to take advantage of another high round draft pick.
All right, so Fowler's settling in. We're just getting settled in for this game, and it's already 5-5. The first one, if you didn't hear it, the Reds won 9-1 in game 1 of the doubleheader. Had 13 hits. Mike Leake was just sensational in game 1. 8 innings, allowed 4 hits and a run, retired the last 16 batters he faced in the game. Frazier to his left, throws out Fowler, and a good start for Villarreal here in the 4th. Mike Leake right now, Chris, is on quite a run.
He really is. You know, he's had a really good season overall, with the exception of about 3 or 4 starts, and 3 of those starts came in succession, and he explained it as essentially being mentally lost. But when he's on his game, he makes it look so easy. Picks the corners, changes speeds, and really pitches. I mean, he has understood the art of pitching really from the first time he stepped on a major league mound.
Off balance swing there by Castro on the first pitch of his at bat, and that's an easy out.
Now, that said about
going to run his last time up.
Sorry, Tom. That said about Mike Leake. I mean, the reality of it is that he's going to be a free agent after this year. So, you know, we've always talked about, is this Johnny Cueto's last start or at home? You know, you can make the same comments about Mike Leake. It's hard to say goodbye to the guys that you've seen drafted, come up through the organization. You've known him in Leake's case since he's been, what, 22 years old.
We'll have more on Mike Leake with Jim Day when we come back. An excellent inning for Villarreal.
Brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meijer. Find more for a healthier you at Meijer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals. 5-5. Bottom of the 4th we go here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. Tom and Chris were talking about Mike Leake, speculating would it be his last start as he pitched to Jim in the early part of the doubleheader, game 1. And he admitted afterwards, a lot of guys, and Johnny Cueto has said he just goes out and does his job. He doesn't think about being traded. Mike Leake was very honest and said it's out of my control, but it's hard not to think about being traded, particularly when everyone around you is asking you questions about it. You've got social media buzzing about it. And he said, if it's my last start as a Red, it's my last start as a Red, but it would be ironic because his first start as a Red back in 2010 was against the Chicago Cubs. And he said it would be ironic if I started that way and went out that way as a Red.
Well, Mike Leake has done a pretty good job against the Cubs here in Cincinnati. If I'm not mistaken, he is 6-0 against the Cubs when he pitches against them at Great American Ballpark.
Well, you look back to making Leake, and this isn't a goodbye ceremony for Mike Leake, but if indeed it is his last start here at Great American Ballpark, he would have turned out to have been an outstanding first-round selection by the Reds when they drafted him 8th overall in June of 2009. He has 61 wins against 47 losses and an earned run average right around 3.7, right around where it is right now for this season. Well, he made the leap right from college straight to the big league.
He'll be 28 in November. So you hit the free agent market when you're 28 years old. That is the peak playing time for a baseball player.
Billy Hamilton gone on strikes. Second strikeout since Wood came into the game. Make it 3, I beg your pardon. He struck out Villarreal to end the inning. So now Joey Votto, he's been on twice. A single in the left field in the first inning. He was intentionally walked in the second inning. Fooled on that Wood breaking ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Joey Votto. 13 of his 25 at bats since the All-Star break have resulted in base hits for Votto. Votto 4 of 17 with 3 walks in his career against Travis Wood. Has struck out 7 times in those 17 trips against Wood. Loops one into short left. It'll fall in a hit. And the hits just keep on coming for the Reds first baseman. Now 14 of 26.
Very impressive there for Joey Votto. I mean, that was a really good sequence of pitches for Travis Wood. Fastball, breaking ball, comes right back with a fastball inside, but Votto just kind of shortens his swing, tries to get the bat on the ball, and does that and dumps one in there.
Frazier missing RBI chances in each of his first 2 times to the plate. He batted with a runner at third, a runner at first, and none out in the first inning. He popped up to the first or the shallow center field. And then with the bases loaded and nobody out in the second inning, Frazier popped up to the second baseman. So Todd certainly feeling like he's due. And he's due. Deep left center field. Fowler racing back to the track and runs it down. Votto hustling back. Here comes the throw, and he's safe. Frazier nearly leaving the yard, but it's a long, loud out. Good play by Fowler.
Really nice play by Dexter Fowler right here. That's Frazier's spot. He likes him outside, and he goes and drops the head on it to one of the deepest parts of the ballpark as Fowler bangs into the fence and comes right up throwing.
Fowler looking down at his right hand. Boy, if you hit a chain link fence, and a lot of people know about that when you're out playing with your buddies, whatever the case may be, if you all of a sudden run into one of those things, A, they hurt, but B, if you happen to just have your fingers at an odd spot and they get caught in one of those and all of a sudden you're trying to get out real quick, you can really hurt yourself. One hopper down to third. Brian will play to first, inning over. Reds get a hit, leave a man. We played 4 and we're tied at 5. Summary, it's been a wild one so far. The Reds scored 5 times in the second inning, 2 of them coming on a bases loaded double by Billy Hamilton. But then the Cubs scored 5 in the very next half inning. Off the bench was Chris Bryant to cap off the inning with a pinch hit 2-run single. That tied the game at 5. Tony Cingrani removed after just 2 2/3 innings after getting a chance to start this one following his promotion from Louisville, where he had thrown the ball very, very well as they started. So here we are in the 5th, tied at 5. Ball 1. Of course, the Reds are trying to make it 3 out of 4 in this series against Chicago. And trying to pull off a doubleheader sweep because the Reds just thoroughly overwhelmed the Cubs in a 12:35 start earlier today. Two 2-0 on Soler. 2 balls and a strike. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Reds. They've left 5 runs, 6 hits, an error, and that was a big one by Castro in that 5-run Reds second inning. And the Cubs have left 4 runners on base. 2-2. Fly ball, Bruce to his left, and that's out number 1. Reds scored 4 runs in the first inning against starter Kyle Hendricks and never looked back. 9 runs, 13 hits. Votto 3 hits. Scored 3 runs. Frazier 3 hits, 2 doubles, drove in 2. And Mike Leake didn't need much. Retired the final 16 batters he faced in 8 sensational innings. You know, Chris, I thought you brought up a good point about the whole Mike Leake thing, and you know, the Reds are going to be hitting the road, and when the Reds come home, they play on a Friday night, which is the day of the trade deadline, the final day of July. So, you know, how soon, if at all, the Reds pull the trigger on making some moves that have certainly been rumored for quite some time. It's certainly conceivable the Reds could come home off of this road trip, which begins tomorrow, with guys you're used to seeing in that dugout or on the field wearing a Reds uniform that may not be part of the traveling party. And there might be a lot more than 1 or 2. Gone swinging to Northfield, 2 away.
No, you're right, and there's really no way to tell. I mean, I'm not even sure that Walt Jocketty knows, you know, what's going to happen between now and the end of the trade deadline. You know, how many guys he's going to move, what kind of players you're going to get in return. Is there enough there to make the trade, or do you just ride out those players and, you know, get draft picks in return if they end up signing as a free agent somewhere else? But it is strange, and I know that Jim Day alluded earlier to the fact that, well, you know, Johnny Cueto says it doesn't bother him and so on. I think it does. I mean, I kind of get the feeling, and talking to Johnny a little bit in the clubhouse the other day, you know, it's just weird to know if all you've known is one team your whole major league, and in both their cases, their entire professional career. And now everybody's bugging you. Hey, have you heard anything yet? I mean, Tom Hamilton told us a great story when Cliff Lee was with the Cleveland Indians. And he was talking to Cliff Lee one day.
In the clubhouse.
In the clubhouse. They had the TV on in the background.
What a play by Frazier. You got to get back to this because it is a good story, and that's a really good play by Frazier. And that's another really good inning by Villarreal. He's throwing the ball quite well tonight. We're tied at 5. 2nd. And then stick around after the game and enjoy a post-game faith concert featuring Grammy award-winning band Third Day. It's presented by our friends from Prasco. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Fans getting a kick out of a young man doing some serious dancing up on the scoreboard, and he'll get a big round of applause. Look at that little man. What in the world is that he has? It looks like a little putter.
Roy Alfers would know, and he just told us it is a selfie stick. I'm surprised you don't have one of those. Maybe sticking out of your backpack.
Me?
You know what those are?
I have no idea what they are.
Well, it's something that it's a contraption that extends, like a, and you put your phone in it.
Okay.
So that you can take pictures of yourself without having to extend your arm.
I don't think I've ever taken a selfie.
Well, I'm going to take one with you here in a minute.
I've been involved in pictures that are taken as a selfie where, we'll go to the Reds Caravan and that kind of thing and bump into people from time to time. But no, haven't done it. But that's pretty cool. Are we in one now?
Here we go.
Cool.
I'll send you 100 copies.
So then the next time a fan asks me to take one with him, I'll just give him one of those?
Exactly.
I'll send it to him. Yeah. I like that idea.
Tell Polly about a little gift idea for you. Selfie stick.
I don't think that'll be in the mix. I do know one thing. If I owned a selfie stick, there ain't no way I'm letting my 2-year-old little boy walk around that thing. Because all of a sudden you forget to take the phone out of there. And you saw what he was doing. He was pretending it was a putter or a bat. Those things better be pretty durable. 2-1 on Marlon Byrd. We're tied at 5. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. I don't mean to sound ignorant. Do most people in this day and age own a selfie stick? No one in my family owns one, but that doesn't mean that a lot of other people don't use them.
No, I think they're just now coming on the scene.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they were more popular in Europe over the last few months.
Do you have one?
We have one in our household, yes.
You do?
It's not mine.
Oh, man, come on. Come on.
Well, it was a gift from some friends who came back from vacation in Italy, and evidently they're quite popular in Europe.
Okay.
And they brought a whole bunch back for the folks, and now I've seen them around the store.
So if they're long enough, I mean, you can really take some pretty cool pictures.
Well, yeah, they're like antennas.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean. You slide it out, right? There's ball 4 to Marlon Byrd, and he is a base runner for the 3rd time tonight. Byrd has walked, scored, single, tried to turn it into a double, was thrown out back in the 3rd inning by the left fielder Denorfia. Now a 1-out walk, and he represents a go-ahead run. It's a first walk given up by Wood in this his 3rd inning of relief. And here comes Matt, and apparently that'll be all for Wood. He's going to check in with a home plate umpire, Manny Gonzalez, indicating a double switch. So a Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. 5-5 game, 1 on, 1 out in the 5th at Great American Ballpark. We're back in a moment.
throughout the ceremonial first pitch for this game 2 of a day-night doubleheader. Princeton High School graduate Kelsey Mitchell, 2014 grad, a lefty. She's a basketball player for the Ohio State University, and what a basketball player she turned out to be this past season, guys. First freshman to ever lead the country in scoring 24.9 points per game. She set 29 single season or single game records at Ohio State. Quite the player from Princeton High.
Tell you what, Jimbo, if anybody ever has a chance to go watch her play, wow. I mean, that's as a freshman in the Big Ten and leading the nation in scoring. She was one of the most highly recruited high school players in the country. She was a top 5 high school player coming out of Princeton, and the Buckeyes were able to get her. Pedro Strop. Opponent's only batting .163 against Strop. He comes in with 1 on and 1 out, and that's a nasty breaking ball there. Cubs are trying to get Strop back on track. You know, the stuff this guy has, when you watch him some games, he is virtually unhittable. But then there'll be other games where his control goes awry a little bit. He'll fall behind 2-0, 3-1 in a count, and then all of a sudden, pow.
Yeah, he's had a couple of bad games, and then now he pitched 2/3 of an inning the other night and gave up a hit. But in previous games against St. Louis, he had a rough outing. He had a rough outing in Atlanta in the first game they played down there. They have some arms out of that Cubs bullpen.
And there's that slider, and gone swinging is Suarez. Coming up later, we'll have our Miller Time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite, and certainly reason to celebrate tonight for Gertrude Reed. Gertrude, happy birthday. Gertrude Reed celebrating her 98th birthday today. Happy birthday, Gertrude. Hope it's been a great day, a great night, and many more of those to come. Here's De Jesus, 2 out of 2. Both hits into right field. After that wild pitch, the Reds have the go-ahead run in scoring position. All 10 runs in this game were scored in back-to-back half innings. Reds got 5 runs in the second. The Cubs scored 5 in the top of the third. (2-0). Schumacher is standing in the on-deck circle. Villarreal has already worked 2 1/3 perfect innings behind Cingrani. Now for Villarreal, there certainly have been some bumps in the road, Chris, but there have also been some games where he has thrown the ball very, very well, like tonight.
You know, a lot of times, Tom, when you come into a ball game as a long reliever, the other team is already heated up and they are rolling right along, and it's always a tough assignment to try to come in there and calm them down a little bit. And the more you see him pitch, I think the more you like him. He's got a really good stage presence out there. And he has learned not to let it bother him to be going up and down I-71 between Louisville and Cincinnati. And I bet he didn't think he was going to get a chance to hit. And they're going to pull Schumacher back, and Villarreal is going to the plate.
Villarreal has thrown just 23 pitches in his 2 1/3 innings. So he will bat with 2 on and 2 out in a 5-5 game here. We're only in the bottom of the 5th inning. And certainly Brian Price has had to use his bullpen. So many innings, so many days since the All-Star break. had to use J.J. Hoover to try and close the game last night. When he gave up the 2-run home run, we played 4 more innings. So you got multiple innings last night alone out of Adcock, Dylan Axelrod, and Jumbo Diaz. Reds strand 2. We go to the 6th in a 5-5 game. On Friday, July the 31st, receive a Reds Dog Days of Summer calendar. This year's calendar features photos from Bark in the Park, Reds players, some of the broadcasters with their furry friends. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com/tickets. They got the chicken dance going in between innings here. That young lady apparently had it down. We missed her. David Ross to lead things off. Villarreal 2 1/3. Perfect inning so far behind Cingrani out of the bullpen. He has 1 strikeout. Got the final out in the 5-run 3rd. And perfect frames in the 4th and 5th. Here we are in the 6th. Ross a base hit into left field. So here comes Chris Bryant, who delivered the big pinch hit 2-run single with the bases loaded following the intentional walk of Ross in front of him. Came up and hit for the pitcher Beeler. Got ahead in the count 3-0. Cingrani came back to get it to 3-2, and then Bryant whacked one into left field to drive in the tying runs. Bryant got a late start. He did not begin the season with the major league club. Started at AAA Iowa, but putting up very, very good numbers since his arrival.
Well, those 54 runs batted in. That is impressive given the fact he's only been in 84 games.
The Reds have really done a good job on Bryant in this series, at least up until now.
Yeah, talking to the Cubs people about Bryant, Tom, we've not seen him at his best. and he is, in a little bit of a mini slump. A couple of the things going on with his swing right now, and hopefully the Cubs will be out of town by the time he figures it out.
He was only 2 out of 14 before that pinch hit 2-run single his last time up in this game. He was hitless in game 1. Weekly hit. There's one, and Bryant getting up the line, beats out the return throw by DeJesus, or by Suarez, I beg your pardon. DeJesus fielding the ball behind the bag.
Ball goes all the way behind the bag, and I'm surprised they even made it that close. Bryant runs well, long-legged, gets his stride going. Pretty nice takeout slide there by David Ross, too. He did not make it easy at all on Suarez coming across the bag.
Well, Joe Madden may want to ask for a review on that out at second base.
Well, what they're talking about is whether Suarez was on the bag when he was able to start the turning of the double play. And if the throw took him away from the bag, then you can call him safe. The area play right there, I'm not sure what they're talking about. Joe already got run out of the ball game this afternoon. He might be looking for a daily double.
I have no idea what he could be asking about here.
Looks like he's touching the bag right there.
Well, now he's down there talking to Todd Frazier. Joe likes to talk too. All right, whatever this is, you're either challenging the call or you're not challenging the call, and it's time to move on. I mean, we have a clock out there for pitchers at this point in between innings.
He's an interesting guy to talk to. I was a little better at lip reading because he's trying to explain something and I'm not exactly sure what it is.
And you saw him say at the end, okay, thank you.
And they're going to review.
Well, he is one of the great guys to talk to in the game today. He's very outgoing, extremely personable. He waited a long time, man. I mean, he was an afterthought. But what do you think he's wondering about?
I think it must be the play at second base. He kept pointing out there. I mean, it looks to me like Suarez does make contact with the bag. Maybe he doesn't. Well, while they're reviewing it, let's get back to that quick story that we were talking about with Cliff Lee.
Yes.
Tom Hamilton, the radio announcer for the Indians, said, all right. We were talking to Cliff Lee in the clubhouse. They had one of the let's get back to the game. What's going on here?
I think this might not be a reviewable play.
That's probably right.
Touching a base requires an appeal. Yep, no challenge involved. Well, by the time they put on the headset, it was a minute 34 to make sure everybody understood that it really wasn't a challenge that you could make. That's number one. And number two, you had probably Joe Maddon out there for 2 or 3 minutes. So that was a lengthy delay. And the batter will be Chris Coghlan. Boy, there is a lot happening here. Coghlan now pinch hitting for Stroh. So please go ahead.
What were we talking about again? No, quickly, the Cliff Lee story. Tom Hamilton and Cliff Lee are sitting in the clubhouse in the Indians right before the trade deadline a few years ago. And on the TV, one of the sportscasters breaks in and says, we've got breaking news on a trade between the Indians and the Philadelphia Phillies. Cliff Lee has been traded to the Phillies. And he looks at Tom Hamilton. He says, well, I guess I ought to go pack my stuff. That's the first that he had heard of it. So that's how shocked you can be. And just the way things, I mean, right down to the last minute, you don't know as a player. You're not getting any advance notice. Mike Leake and Johnny Cueto or anybody else, they're not hearing anything from their agents as to who is interested in them or who is talking to the Reds. All of that is always kept very quiet until the deal is done. And you just never know. And they tell you it's time to pack your bags and head out.
And I'm sure Lee did not appreciate, even though he's a pretty laid back guy, he didn't appreciate the fact that he had to hear about it on television. There's strike 3 swinging. That is one of the requirements of a general manager or a manager, is to make sure the player hears it from your organization.
Well, they try to do that when they can, but it doesn't always happen. I learned that I was sent down from the major leagues to the minor leagues one time from one of the players on the team who heard it from his wife who lived in Oklahoma. The team was in Atlanta. So the morning DJ knew it before I did. Of course, I was listening to the FM DJ.
Exactly. Oh, and one to Dexter Fowler. 2 strikeouts for Villarreal. We're in a 5-5 game. One pitch, and it's low and in. We're starting to talk about Maddon a little bit. He's 61 years old. It wasn't like he was an old guy when he got his first managerial job. And I remember getting to know Joe Maddon when he was one of many different roles inside then the California Angels organization. I mean, he was managing going all the way back to 1981. He managed for 6 seasons. And then for the next 10 years, he held all kinds of different jobs inside the Angels organization before he finally had a chance to be on the major league staff. That's when Mike Scioscia took over. Here's a fly ball to right center field, and Hamilton will handle it to end the inning. Tell you, Villarreal has done a splendid job tonight. 3 1/3 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball.
Football, many times a quarterback in a huddle having a cheat sheet, a little Velcro thing there and calling plays. Well, last night I noticed Kyle Schwarber had one, and I thought it was just him keeping track of the new pitchers, but until I saw David Ross today checking it out. He will check it out before a batter comes up to the plate, and will even check it out mid at bat. And you got to think, and Chris Wells, I know you told me that in college the catchers use it a lot because the managers like to call pitches from the dugout. Well, we believe that this one is taking sabermetrics to an extreme right here. The Cubs very particular about what pitches to throw on what count to which batter. So this looks like it is straight out of the Joe Madden playbook. David Ross using that Velcro thing on his left arm a lot during this game.
Well, you see football quarterbacks use something like that, right, Tom, that have plays written down on it. You have in college you use it in a different way. It's more of a signal deciphering deal, like a decoder, because there aren't anywhere near the type of scouting reports they have in the major leagues. But some of these scouting reports here are so extensive that, you know, pitchers are told what to throw, and that's that. And I think sometimes you forget a little bit about the human element of a guy standing on the mound wondering, all right, you know, I know this calls for a fastball, but I really feel a lot better about my curveball right here.
So the strikeout of Billy Hamilton to begin the inning. And here's Joey Votto. A perfect 2 for 2. Has been on base 3 times, including an intentional walk. Votto with a pair of singles. By the way, on that play a moment ago, the explanation is the umpires on the field, when they came over to the headset for a rules check regarding whether or not the force at second base was a reviewable play. As that one's in the dirt, the umpires on the field ruled that the throw was a true throw, and therefore the force play at second base was not reviewable. So that ties the ribbon around that. We're in a 5-5 game, last of the 6th inning. And that one bounces up there to Votto, running the count full. And I misspoke a moment ago when Coughlin came up. When Strode came in the game, you may recall Joe Madden stopped to visit with a home plate umpire about a double switch. Coughlin was part of the double switch. He took over in left field for DeNorfield. So the pitcher spot is the 5th spot in the Cub batting order. Three and 2 to Joey Votto. Frazier to follow, and then Jay Bruce. And Joey wants a new bat. See where a piece of it chipped off. Down around the barrel. A little closer to the end of the bat. I don't know how long he's been using that bat, but that bat's had a lot of hits in it here of late.
Still sounds good.
Ball 4, and Votto is on for the 4th consecutive time. Are you playing fantasy baseball? A lot of folks aren't. MLB.TV serves up real-time highlights and pitch tracking info on your out-of-market fantasy players. Do it live or on demand. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Get MLB.TV today. And now another visit out of the Cubs dugout. This time it'll be Chris Bosio, their pitching coach. No eye contact there. None. between the pitcher and his pitching coach.
Huh.
Maybe that's normal. Would you look the guy in the eye when he came out to talk to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when that guy was Stan Williams.
Oh, yeah. Bosio's in that same mold. All right, 1 on, 1 out, 5-5 game. Well, that's a nasty fastball right there in on Frazier's hands, and he pops it up for the second out of the inning. Beautiful night here in Cincinnati. Virtually no humidity whatsoever. Temperatures today very low 80s. Going to creep down to the high 50s tonight. Reds won game 1 of this doubleheader, 9-1. They had a 5-0 lead at the end of 2, but in the third the Cubs answered the Reds 5 runs in the second with 5 of their own in the third. And both teams have been very quiet ever since. I mean, really quiet. The Reds had 2 hits, but they had a runner try to turn a single into a double thrown out. That was in the third. They had 1 hit in the fourth, none in the fifth, and not a hit here in the sixth. The Cubs have had 1 hit since a 5-run third inning. 2-2. So maybe a long day of baseball is starting to wear some guys down a little bit. Votto and Rizzo, those 2 guys standing over at first, both playing both ends of this day-night doubleheader. Inning over. We go to the 7th, tied at 5. And photo of the game And you can tweet yours to Ohio Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured during an upcoming game. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. John, thank you. Well, Chris, there it is.
There it is. You're exactly right.
Wow.
Now, don't you feel left out by not having one?
You know what? I do.
I wonder if your dad would like to have one of those too.
Well, we'll have to run that by. But the Cowboy has one of those. Don't you think? Riding out around on the range and
pulls it out of the saddlebag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, right along the edge of the canyon.
When he's out,
a picture of you and your horse.
Maybe when he's out mending fences, looking for that stray cat that got away.
No doubt. Riding tall, proud, and strong. Starlin Castro to lead things off against Pedro Villarreal. Rafael Soriano beginning to throw in the Chicago bullpen. And a big Jumbo Diaz is throwing in the Reds bullpen. Villarreal has been magnificent. There's no other way to describe it. He has gone 3 1/3 innings. He's not walked a batter. He's allowed 1 hit, no runs, fan 2. But now he faces Castro, Rizzo, and Soler in a 5-5 game. And Frazier, nice pickup, got him on the run. Villarreal giving Frazier a high five after this.
Really nice play right here. Charges hard so he can pick the time he wants to scoop that ball up. The shorter the hop right there, the better it is.
So now the Reds will put the big shift defensively on the Cub first baseman Anthony Rizzo. Twice his flight out to left, and he was hit by a pitch, scored in that 5-run 3rd inning. One ball and 1 strike on Rizzo. Villarreal wanting a new set of signs from Pena. Back on the rubber. Nods his head in agreement, and now the break-even pitch. Hit down the right field line towards the corner, and it's up against the wall. Bruce will come at his second base, and that is Anthony Rizzo's first hit of this series in 16 at-bats. How do you keep this ball fair?
I don't know. And he really didn't hit it all that well. You see, he got it really in on the trademark right there. Jammed himself a little bit, but he is so strong.
All right, now Soler. And a breaking ball in the dirt. Rizzo thought about it. Pena found the ball quickly, pounced right on it. It's a big, big batter in this game right here and right now. You have the pitcher spot due up next. And they have Kyle Schwarber, who has just mashed here in his hometown during this series. Frazier, can he get Soler? The throw is in time. What a play by Frazier. Wow. And what a big play by Frazier. After the throw, Rizzo advances on to third, but there are 2 outs in the inning.
Well, Frazier's already had a nice slow roller play here. He dives and has to come up throwing hard. And right on the money. Nice stretch at the other end by Votto in order to get that runner Soler, who was booking it down the line.
Joe Madden is going to send up a pitcher to bat here in the 7th inning of a 5-5 game instead of Schwarber. He will send up Hamill. Of course, now he's already used 2 of his bench players in this game. And the only 2 guys he has left, position players left on his bench, are Schwarber and Taylor Teagarden. And this is where a manager has to make the call.
Yep.
Do I feel like right now is the point where I have a chance to win the game, or do I want to sit on a matchup later, especially with Schwarber coming off the bench? And of course, a lot of things go into that thinking. How many outs in the inning? Hamill bounces out, and Villarreal has been the man of the night. 4 1/3 innings of 2 hits, shutout baseball. Congratulations. Our next Super Saturday at the ballpark is August the 1st. The Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates get together, and the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Devin Mesoraco bobblehead presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Come on down. Well, they just signed late in this season, pitched at the minor league level until just this series. Longtime major league veteran and a good one, Rafael Soriano, takes over on the mound. We saw him make his Cub debut. That was in the series opener. Soriano an inning, a walk, a hit, no runs. Served into left, but Coughlin had him play that way and Pena out.
Good idea by Pena. Hit it maybe too hard.
Soriano was a closer a year ago and had a good year for the Washington Nationals. And has had some outstanding seasons in the major leagues. He has over 200 career saves. Here's Marlon Byrd, who was walked, singled, walked again. He tried to turn the single into a double and was thrown out by then the left fielder of the Cubs, Kristen Orfia. Coughlin out there now. Looks like Jumbo's coming in this game in the 8th inning. He's cranking it up pretty good down there. You couldn't ask for anything better out of Villarreal.
Well, both these bullpens have done a good job. It's been really a one-man show, though, for the Reds. I mean, the way this game was going after the top of the 3rd inning, when the Cubs scored 5, you thought this was going to be one of those Donnybrook kind of games. And the offenses have since put up nothing but zeros.
Strove goes an inning and 2/3 with 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, no hits, no runs. The Reds have not had a hit since Votto singled in the 4th inning.
You know, Tom, I just get the feeling this is the type of game that gets decided by a hanging slider and a long ball.
Cardinals and the White Sox underway. No score at the end of 2 on the south side of Chicago. Kansas City and the Pirates scoreless in the 3rd inning at Kauffman Stadium. And there is a base hit. So Marlon Byrd and Joey Votto each have been aboard 4 times in this game, each with 2 hits, each with a pair of walks.
But Byrd stays right on it, even though that ball was low and away and he got it on the end of the bat. He stayed down on it enough to get a decent line drive into center field. If you pull off that swing at all, you're going to dribble it to the shortstop.
All right, here is Suarez. He singled and scored in the 5-run second. Has struck out swinging each of his last 2 trips. Strike 1. We are in the bottom of the 7th inning of a 5-5 game. Runner goes, swing and a miss. And Byrd is thrown out. Marlon Byrd, only his 2nd stolen base attempt the entire season.
I'm figuring this was more of a hit and run than it was a straight steal by Byrd.
Two outs, 2-2 on Suarez. And Soriano, the short step, comes to the plate. And misses down and away a full count on Eugenio Suarez. Ivan De Jesus Jr. would be next. Payoff pitch. inning over. We're off to the 8th, tied at 5.
And we'll give you everything you need to know to get ready for that day's game. First look at the lineups, features, and more. It is Reds Live, the pregame edition. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. The Reds closing up this 4-game set in 3 days against the Cubs and closing out the homestand. And then it's off on the road, an off day / travel day tomorrow. And then Friday we'll pick up the Reds again in Denver. First of 3 against the Rockies. Anthony DeSclafani, righty versus righty. He'll go against Eddie Butler. Reds Live at 8 o'clock Cincinnati time. The game to follow here on Fox Sports Ohio. 3 in Colorado and then 3 in St. Louis.
Pedro Villarreal, the longest outing in his major league career tonight. 4 1/3 innings, allows 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks, and no runs. And he'll give way in his 5-5 game to the hard-throwing right-hander Jumbo Diaz.
Well, now we're in the short reliever part of the ball game, and you never know as a long reliever, like the role that Pedro Villarreal is in, whether you're ever going to get into a ball game. And usually you either get in early in the game like he did tonight, or you get in very, very late, like when the game goes extra innings. But what a great job. He's got to be very happy with what he has contributed to this Reds cause tonight. Now they're looking for Jumbo to put a 0 on the board. 29th game for Jumbo.
So Addison Russell to lead things off for Chicago in the 8th inning. And ball 1 away. Schwarber stands in the on-deck circle. That is David Ross's spot in the batting order. Remember, they have the pitcher batting in the 5th spot, and they used another pitcher, the last night's starting pitcher, Jason Hamill, to pinch hit already. Bouncing ball. Frazier has it get past him, and that'll be an infield hit.
Too much overspin. You're wondering when Joe Madden would use his secret weapon, which is not so secret anymore, not after the series that Kyle Schwarber has had in front of friends and family. Not bad at all. 7 for 14 with 2 home runs in this series.
So the young man from Middletown High School, who had 2 more hits in game 1. He knocked in the only Cub run in the Reds' 9-1 victory. He did something a Chicago Cub has not done since the great Andre Dawson in 1990 in the game here last night. And that is to hit a game-tying home run in the 9th inning and a game-winning home run in extra innings.
You know, Jumbo Diaz has a lot of run on his fastball, and he can hit that outside corner and find out if Schwarber can go out there. Pena's waiting for it out there. All the damage that Schwarber has done, at least from a in the strike zone standpoint, has been inside to him and then low on the inner part of the plate.
Schwarber waits. Fastball away. 2 balls and a strike. I mean, it was less than 24 hours ago, or roughly about 24 hours ago, these two locked up in the 7th inning last night. Diaz came on from the bullpen and struck Schwarber out with that high gas, Chris, you were talking about, running away from it. Well, the Reds had a 2-run lead in the 9th inning. Schwarber whacked one way deep into the 9th. And then he came up in the 13th inning. Low line drive just clearing the wall. 4 rows back. What a night. And what a start it has been for Schwarber. Remember, they brought him up. Had a couple of big games. Then they sent him back down. And then just before the start of the second half, after he had played here and been named the MVP of the Futures game during the All-Star break, the Cubs activated him before they played in Atlanta, where he knocked the cover off the ball there all weekend. Got him on that fastball again.
Same thing he got him on last night. He played good old country fastball, and we will call that our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. 97 on the radar gun, I think it was, for Jumbo on that one.
Jumbo not backing down to the Cubs slugger. And now he'll face another one. In right-handed batting, Chris Bryant. Bryant came off the bench all the way back in the 3rd inning, with the bases loaded and 2 men out. Joe Madden watched his starter Dallas Beeler give up 5 runs in the prior half inning and said, I'm not letting him hit. And he set up Bryant after the Reds had intentionally walked David Ross to load the bases, and Bryant tied the game with a 2-run single to left field. We have a fan running around on the field. Tell you one thing, he's quite an athlete, if nothing else. They're cheering because he went sprinting, put a foot up against the wall, cleared the wall, ran up the berm, went airborne over another railing, and just sprinted right on out of here.
I think even before he jumped over the wall in center field onto the berm, he threw his sunglasses or something up onto the berm, jumped up on the grass, picked them up. Maybe it was his cell phone. He may have been taking a selfie of himself as he did that. Well, that was about the quickest one we've seen.
I tell you what, I mean, he's a dope for running out there, but I'll tell you one thing, the guy's an athlete.
Well,
he's an athletic dope.
They're probably chasing him down Marion Way unless he wants to do the second.
Well, there are fans that are standing along the railing out there watching this guy run out of the ballpark.
He might be doing the second event in the biathlon and swimming across the river.
Yeah. That would make him ×2 a dope. That's not advisable.
Never negative.
That's why we don't show it. All right, 1-1 to Bryant. What a fastball at 97 miles per hour for strike 2.
Yeah, and not just 97, but right down there in the spot he wanted it. I mean, he just barely missed on the pitch before. Go back there again.
They appeal. He did not go around. Or so says Paul Schreiber.
You know, for a big guy, Bryant makes his strike zone fairly compact. He's not upright when he stands in the batter's box. He's got a lot of flex in his knees. And the strike zone really is not when you're standing straight up, but when you are taking a natural swing. So he may be 6'5", but he hits in there like he's about 6'1".
One hopper down to third. Bryant can run. And again, he legs out. The relay throw from De Jesus. They're 2 away in the inning. Now, Jumbo last night faced Schwarber, Bryant. Bryant hit that broken bat double down the left field line against Jumbo last night. He faced Rizzo and Soler. He did not face the batter who steps in now, the left-handed batting Chris Cogley. Bryant at first base. He stole second back into third after his 2-run single. And there he goes. Foul out of play. Well, he does run well.
I mean, for a guy that has just tremendous home run power, I mean, they say he hits them out of sight. He doesn't look like he's, you know, muscle bound. Just a big guy.
I think everyone's a little surprised when you see him in person how tall he is, as you've talked about already here in this series. But I did not see him in spring training. Did you see him this year in Arizona?
I didn't get up close to him. I saw him play. Yeah. I mean, Joey Votto's a big guy. About 6'2", 6'3". Bryant, maybe not built as stout, but a few inches taller anyway.
Two and one. Didn't miss by much on that fastball. Trying for the outer corner.
Boy, Jumbo's popping the mitt.
Well, Jumbo trying to earn his way back, or earn his way to staying more accurately. He's earned his way back. He went down to Louisville, did all the things they asked him to do. He pitched very, very well. But he plans on staying now. But you got to go out and do it. You can want to do it. You can talk about doing it. Think about doing it. Jumbo's fallen behind 3-1 on Coghlan. Here's a strike. The runner goes, and the runner is safe at second base.
Well, Coghlan was on his way to first base. That was kind of an odd play because he threw the bat down, and Haney was trying to make the throw to second base to throw the runner out.
I'm wondering, can that not be some kind of interference?
Well, if in the opinion of the umpire, he interfered with the attempt to throw, yeah, but just tossing the bat in front of him evidently is not enough to call that. It doesn't have to be.
I'd make that a strategy if I were a batter.
Well, it doesn't have to be intentional, but you do have to interfere with the throw.
Jumbo just blows Coghlan away, and he is really hot. He thought he had ball 4 and had it back. All right, Reds coming up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. We're tied at 5. Was in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. What a job he did here tonight for the Redlegs. After Cingrani lasted just 2 2/3 innings. Villarreal, 4 1/3 innings of 2 hits, shutout baseball, no walks, struck out 2. The longest outing of his young major league career for Pedro Villarreal. Schwarber will remain in the game after batting for David Ross. And Hector Rondon takes over following Soriano. Well, these two teams have used some bullpen now in this series.
When you have starters that have a problem, and then you go extra innings like they did last night, I think both managers are stunned that this ball game is at 5-5 right now.
Series opener, Lorenzen went 5 for the Reds. Clayton Richard went 5 2/3. Game 2, Iglesias 5 2/3. Hamill goes 5. Leake had the brilliant outing in game 1 earlier today. And here tonight, neither starter got through 3. Of course, the Cubs missed the Reds ace, Johnny Cueto. And the Reds missed the Cubs ace in Jake Arrieta. They also happen to miss John Lester, although he has certainly not pitched like the man they paid top dollar for during the offseason as a free agent. That didn't take long. One away. Well, after our game tonight and after every Reds game, right here on Fox Sports Ohio, stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Skip Schumacher is going to bat for Jumbo. Jumbo an inning, allowed an infield hit, struck out 2. First pitch swinging on the fastball. It's 0-1 to Schumacher. Rondon in 2 innings last night allowed 2 hits, no runs. Mott wound up as the winner, and Grimm came on to pick up the save. Five runs, 10 hits for the Reds. 5 runs, 9 hits for Chicago. Reds only have 1 hit, foul ball, since Joey Votto's 1-out single in the 4th inning. And that was a little flare by Marlon Byrd with 1 out in the 7th. The Cubs have had hits in each of the last 3 innings. They've had leadoff hits in 2 of the last 3. Charging hard, Castro tried to barehanded. Didn't know if he needed to do that necessarily, but the Reds are glad he did. That'll be a base hit for Skip Schumacher, who went sliding headfirst into first base.
That is a very difficult play for an infielder to do. Anytime that ball is rolling or bouncing, you know, the preferred method is to put it in your glove or scoop it. But, you know, we see Todd Frazier do that and do it all the time. Brandon Phillips has done it many, many times. So you get to thinking, well, maybe it's easier than it really looks until you see someone else try it. Ball took a little bit of a high hop on him. He had no chance.
All right, now Billy Hamilton. Hamilton a bunt single in the 1st inning. Trying to bunt his way on, fouls this one off. You may remember Hamilton's first 7 bunt attempts for this season, he was thrown out or was out on every single attempt. But now all of a sudden he has 8 bunt hits the last 13 times he's tried to bunt. This is a situation where if he could bring it with him, it would enhance his chances, with Bryant standing almost right on top of him by the time the pitch is thrown at third base. Hamilton a bunt single in the 1st inning, a 2-run double over the head of Soler into right center field in the 5-run 2nd. He has struck out swinging each of his last 2 times up. Reds have been struck out 9 times in this game, and we're in the 8th inning. 2-1 to Hamilton. What they think here about putting Schumacher in motion. Rondon steps off the rubber, and Castro will come out along with Schwarber. Looked like a little bit of a pep talk from the rookie right there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's not afraid to get out there and become part of it.
Two and one. And a base hit. See if Schumacher can get to third. He will. Billy Hamilton coming to second. Here comes a throw. And the Reds are in business here in the eighth.
Hamilton hits it hard, and when that ball got into the gap right there, Schumacher never slowed up. He read it perfectly. Billy Hamilton was off, I mean, really boot scooting it down to first base and coming around into second. And there's no way they're going to pitch to Joey Votto as scorching hot as he is right now.
And you know, it's interesting here. Votto now, you want to talk about quite a day. Votto with this intentional walk has reached safely on a hit, a walk, or hit by a pitch 9 times today. Game earlier, now this one. The last Red to do that, Pete Rose, reached base 9 times in one day. That was a doubleheader against the Houston Astros on July the 2nd, wow. 1976. Wow. So Joe Lucca brought his A game tonight. He only had to work one game. All right. So here we are with Frazier. We go back to the note we showed you earlier as Joe Maddon's going to come out and have a visit with everybody. And there's a note on Votto. What a day for Joey. On base each of his 5 times here in game 2. After collecting 3 hits and a walk in game 1 of a doubleheader. But now we get back to something we talked about earlier. Todd Frazier in the first inning today, runner at third, nobody out, popped up. Came up with the bases loaded, nobody out in the second inning. Popped up. This is something that was weighing on him very early in the year. And the numbers have not been good. But he has been the best Reds hitter from day 1 this season. Their leading run producer. And now the game on the line in the bottom of the 8th for Frazier with 1 out and the bases juiced. Can he deliver? 0-1.
Well, you know, half the battle here, Tom, is believing that the pressure is on the pitcher and not on the hitter. Easy to say, tough to do.
One ball and 1 strike. Schumacher, a 1-out infield hit, went to third on a double by Billy Hamilton. They intentionally walked Votto to load him up in his 5-5 game last of the 8th inning. Rondon v. Frazier with 1 out. Frazier, the team leader in home runs. Frazier, the team leader in runs batted in. And Frazier just misses foul. Oh, my. Oh, the reaction by Schumacher. Oh, my. Now 2 balls, 2 strikes count on Frazier. 1 out, bases loaded, tie game in the 8th. Rizzo, he comes to the plate after the ricochet off the body of the pitcher Rondon. Can you believe that?
Frazier hits it hard. And it goes off the pitcher right to Rizzo. Heads up play by Rizzo to get the force at the plate.
Can you believe that? That makes you wonder if the Billy Goat curse hasn't been lifted when you see a play like that. Now Jay Bruce. Bases loaded, 2 outs. It has been an ugly game for Bruce offensively. Bounced into a double play with 1st and 3rd and 1 out in the 1st inning. He tapped out to the pitcher to get an RBI in the 2nd. He's bounced to 3rd and struck out. The Reds will leave them loaded. We're tied at 5 going to the 9th. To you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Now some bad luck for the Reds in that bottom half of the 8th inning. Frazier hit the ball right on the nose with the bases loaded and 1 out. It ricochets off the pitcher to Rizzo, throws to the plate for a force out, and then Bruce pops up to end the inning. So after getting a day off following a lot of work the 2 days prior, in last night's game, Aroldis Chapman will come out of the bullpen in a 5-5 game here at home in the top of the 9th inning. Top of the order for the Cubs, they'll have Fowler, Castro, and Rizzo. Fowler doubled leading off the game. He has since struck out, bounced to third, fly to center. Base hit. And one would assume that they will have Fowler running sometime early in this at bat.
Yeah, you would think so, Tom, but in the past, Chapman has been pretty good about scaring runners anyway, because he can have a deceptive move to first base. He has given up 4 stolen bases this year, Chapman.
Well, we told you the other night, Castro was in a similar situation and they did not ask him to bunt. And in fact, that's because they never asked him to bunt.
Yeah.
Castro does not have a single sacrifice this year.
And the other part of that is that as hard as Chapman is to hit, he is nearly as hard to bunt. When you're throwing it upwards of 101 and 102, that's not an easy assignment. One of the things that teams do now when they scout other teams is that they'll count the number of throws in a row that a reliever will throw to first base. And they'll know what the maximum number is before the pitcher feels uncomfortable throwing over there one more time. So Joe Maddon's got to ask himself, what are the better odds? Stealing a base and getting 1 hit, or getting 2 hits off of Chapman?
One and 2 on Castro. On the right field line, and out of the reach of Jay Bruce, it'll stay in 1 and 2 on Starlin Castro. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Leadoff single by Fowler here in the Chicago 9th inning of his 5-5 game. That last fastball of Chapman's at 102 miles per hour. There goes a runner. Got an incredible jump. No chance. Even if the ball's not in the dirt. Fowler certainly guessed right. And he has his 15th stolen base of the season. Castro in this series has not hit a ball to the right side of the pitcher's mound in every at bat of this series. Not one. We've seen him kind of stepping in the bucket a little bit. He's pulled everything to the left side in this whole series. And he's gone swinging here.
Now, he wasn't going to hit this last pitch to the right side. Not with the wicked action that ball had. Down and in. A four-seamer that had a little cut on it.
So now it'll be Anthony Rizzo. We gave you some of his numbers against left-handers this year and how devastating he has been. A .338 batter, but of course this is no ordinary left-hander. But a base hit into left field for Rizzo. And they're going to send the runner to the plate, and he's thrown out. If Pena hung onto the ball, he's out. I mean, I don't know if Fowler ran through a stop sign or whether they were waving him around, but that is unbelievable they would try that.
Well, Fowler stopped coming around third base because he thought he was going to be held up, but they waved him through. Look at him slowing up right here, and it's like, hey, come on, never picked up the third base coach. And out by a long shot, and I think they're going to ask for a review because they thought that Brian Pena dropped the ball right here when he hit the ground, and he turns around and picks it up. But no, I don't think it ever came out of his bare hand. Well, that
it almost makes you wonder if Fowler wanted to run.
Well, you know,
because I mean, like you brought up earlier, how many hits are you going to get in an inning off a roll?
Well, and I think that they're figuring that, but I mean, every third base coach wants you to run hard until you are told to stop. And maybe he just assumed that he wasn't going to. I mean, he's running hard here, and then I'm not even sure if he had run hard the whole way, he would have been safe.
Cubs are challenging the home plate collision rule. Meaning was Pena blocking the plate before he had the ball. Call on the field is out at home. And of course, you can either confirm the call stands where there's no clear and convincing evidence to confirm or overturn, or you can overturn it. And it's out at the plate. We saw Brian Price. They are going to intentionally walk, and you certainly understand the move here. You have the dangerous Soler at the plate. You have the pitcher spot due up next, and the only player left on the Chicago bench is Taylor Teagarden.
You got to give a little credit on that play to Marlon Byrd. Even though he had a lot of time to throw the runner out the plate, he threw it on the money and gave Brian Pena a throw that he could handle.
Byrd has been an outstanding defender this year.
He has.
Well, now Brian Price wants to make sure that everybody's okay with this decision and everybody understands exactly what's going on, because after Pena came out, it was almost as though Chapman was saying, I'm intentionally walking anybody? And now Chapman able to smile a little bit. You know, we were wondering, you were already looking it up. Has Chapman ever intentionally walked a batter?
Negative, and that's why he doesn't want to do it right here.
Think about that for a minute. We were jokingly saying, you know, off the air, he wants nothing to do with intentionally walking anybody, not knowing it's because he's never done it. Pena caught that ball in the grass just to make sure.
That one came in at 58. I didn't know Chapman could throw it that slow.
He's losing it a little bit. It's almost half speed. All right, this will be ball 4 to Soler. And Chapman may never intentionally walk another batter the rest of his life.
Given the choice, he would have done it there.
He wanted every part of Soler. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He knows at the end of the day it's the right decision by his manager, but he wanted Soler. Well, Chapman's given up 2 hits in this inning. One by Fowler, one by Rizzo, who stands at second base. And now Teagarden with 2 outs in a 5-5 game in the 9th. Rizzo takes off for third. That's a smart move. Not paying any attention to you. You never know if one gets away.
Well, that may be their best shot, and it was also a smart move by Frazier not even to cover third base, because you don't want to leave your post down there just in case Teagarden hits a ground ball right where you were.
Now Soler will take off, and a base hit by Teagarden. Wow. And the Cubs lead in the 9th inning against Chapman by a run. The most unlikely hitter in this entire ballpark to get a hit off Aroldis Chapman just did. Teagarden only 14 at bats this entire season in just his 7th game, and that is only his 3rd hit, his 2nd run batted in. I tell you, the Reds actually caught a break, believe it or not, in that when Rizzo took off for third base, Soler was not paying attention to what was going on and did not take off for second, or that would have been a 2-run single. He took off on the next pitch that Teagarden hit. Rizzo started this whole thing with a, actually Fowler started the whole thing, but he got a hit on Rizzo's hit. Fowler thrown out on the plate. 3-2 on Russell. And then after the intentional walk, bad things have happened to the Reds today after intentional walks. But you certainly, it's a no-brainer, the one here in the 9th inning. Bases are loaded, and now it'll be Schwarber against Chapman. We saw this matchup in Game 1 in the 9th inning when Chapman closed out the 5-4 Reds win. Chapman struck him out. Cubs with a 1-run lead, bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th. Threw that one right by Schwarber to get ahead 0-2. Well, we've seen Aroldis Chapman intentionally walk a batter for the first time in his career in this inning. And it's one of the few times in his career he's allowed 3 hits in an inning. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swinging Schwarber on a 102-mile-per-hour fastball. But the Cubs come up with a run. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th. Against Aroldis Chapman in the top of the 9th inning on what was a 5-5 game. So the Cubs now a 1-run advantage, as the Reds will send up Pena, Bird, and Eugenio Suarez, as Teagarden, the hero for the time being, stays in the game to catch the final player on Joe Maddon's bench tonight. And he sends him up there, and Teagarden delivers a single off Chapman to give him a lead, and now they hand the ball to Mott, the one-time closer with the Cardinals.
He got the win in last night's extra inning game and ran his record to 7-1 out of the bullpen. He's only been in 42 games, pitched 36 innings. He has had 5 save opportunities, and he's converted each and every one of them.
Gives you an idea of how many close games the Cubs have played in. We've talked about half of their games, over half, have been decided by 2 runs or less. And look no further than this series. Outside of the game 1 of our doubleheader, every game, the other 3 have been 1-run decisions.
Now, 3 years ago, Jason Mott was the man out of the bullpen for the St. Louis Cardinals. That was in 2012. 42 of 49 save opportunities he converted. Missed the next year after elbow surgery, and he's come back, pitched a little bit with the Cardinals last year. A converted catcher from Port Huron, Michigan.
Two and one to Brian Pena. Now you got to wonder, could Mott be a little bit tired? He gave up 3 hits in 2 full innings out of the bullpen last night. No walks and no strikeouts. And as Chris mentioned, picked up the win with Grimm the save. Over 74,000 fans have come through the turnstiles here at Great American Ballpark today. Had over 35,000 in game 1. 39,000 plus here in game 2. Pena, a hard hit ball, but right at the second baseman. 1 out in the Reds' 9th inning. Reds have 12 hits and 6 walks they have drawn in this game tonight. But they've only managed 5 runs. You say only because all of them came in 1 inning. That's 4 of their 12 hits in that lone inning. But of course, the freak play of the night was off the bat of Frazier, with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th inning. The hot smash that hit the backside of the pitcher, ricocheted to the first baseman, who had the wherewithal to throw to the plate and got the force out before Rodon retired Jay Bruce on a pop-up. Of course, but then again, you know, we go back to the, Chris, you brought it up earlier, to the, you can rest assured Brian Price will, in the first and second innings, on the runs that could have been. As the Reds are down their final out, they had first and third, nobody out. With the 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up in the first inning, they don't score. They had scored 4 runs, had the bases loaded with 3 and 4 and 5 coming up, and nobody out. And a ground ball to the pitcher scored their 5th run of the inning.
Could have been a blowout right then and there.
Well, Suarez, we know, more than capable of tying this game with 1 crack at the bat. Well, the Cub fans that are here, they're making plenty of noise here in the 9th inning with the Reds down to their final out. And Suarez keeps the hopes alive with a base hit. Well, De Jesus looking over to the bench. They have Brandon Phillips and Jason Bourgeois along with Tucker Barnhart. The Reds have not used but 1 player off of their bench here in the second game. DeJesus has hit the ball very hard. Had an RBI single, scored in the 5-run second, had a little bloop single in the right field in the 3rd inning, drew a walk in the 5th, struck out in the 8th. Brandon Phillips into the on-deck circle. That's a pitcher spot next. Strike on DeJesus Jr. He had a good rip at that pitch, fouling it straight back. And the Cubs win it by a final count of 6-5. So they split the day, they split the series.